Hi everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to talk about Lovable GitHub integration. Before we show how you can connect Lovable, so let's just catch up to see what we currently have. So in the previous videos we have built our first website, and we have also published our first website, which is available on lovablesimplify.live. Now, before we show how you actually do that in the Lovable itself, let's first talk about GitHub. So what is GitHub? You've heard about GitHub, github.com, and source control, and so on. So in the previous video, we have talked about the actual structure of our Lovable. So what we hear in this preview is a mix of text, colors, UI elements, and we have explained that behind this UI preview there is a source code. So what is a source code? Is a collection of folders, files that are actually used to create that preview that our clients will see in their browser. Now, what is GitHub? So github.com is most popular source version control. What is important? Source control is important for two aspects: code distribution, and aspect number two, revision. So code distribution, let's talk about that problem for a bit. So since every piece of software, web app, mobile app, any software is created by writing code, if we have more than one developer working on that software, there is a problem of code distribution. So if we have two developers working on this particular project and we have one set of files, so we have to share those files somehow. So back in the days, let's say 30 years ago, developers would usually do some changes and then they would send the changes to another developer. So one developer would keep the source of truth for that particular software. And that was pretty hard to do, because imagine if we just take, for example, this start TS. So this is pretty simple file, but imagine file with 300 lines of code. And if I do tiny change, then I want to share that change with other team members so that they have up-to-date source code. So doing that manually is extremely hard and error prone. Plus, I can't review and see what someone has changed. So even 30 years ago, developers started creating tools to help them track changes in the software. So we have source code distribution, and another important aspect is source code revision. With the source control, we can see who changed what, when, and why. So if we look at the source code at this moment, we see that this source code is producing this preview. But if we change this to black, then if we have source control connected, then we will be able to see who changed who made this particular change, when, and eventually why with the comment. So it is really important, because it helps us to be able to revert our changes. So let's say someone did some changes by mistake. So with the source control, we are able to roll back, to bring back the previous version of the software. So it's like crucial part in the software industry, and it's really important for every software project. Now, GitHub.com evolved and now is like de facto standard for source control. You can still use different tools. So some other popular options are like GitLab, Microsoft Azure DevOps, but GitHub.com is the default one. So GitHub.com started, or was mainly used for open source projects, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it's used everywhere for all softwares, and all biggest software companies use GitHub. So if you don't have one, you can sign up with your email address, and it's free. So for now, I'm going, since I have I have my profile, I have my company profile there with the repository. So the GitHub itself is a tool, and GitHub has a concept of repository. So one repository is kind of one project. So repository is a project where your source code is stored. If you open repositories, you will see projects that you have, and they can be private and public. Now, why is it important for Lovable? You can work and you can build your website and even your web app in Lovable without connecting GitHub. So there's no particular roadblock to stop you without GitHub. But it is important if you want to develop first, if you want to see changes done by Lovable, and also to be able to roll back. But if you want to deploy outside of Lovable, if you want to do changes not in Lovable, let's say using Claude Code or some other AI tool, you need GitHub. So nowadays there is option to download your code base. So by downloading code base, you can download the latest version of the source code. So in theory, you could download code base and then open that code in, let's say, Claude Code and continue working there. But even then, if you do some changes in Claude Code, you want to have those changes stored somewhere. For example, if you download code locally, another huge benefit for having source control. If you're doing changes locally, and then for whatever reason your laptop is either damaged or stolen or whatever, or you have some kind of virus and your disk is encrypted, so your changes are gone. With GitHub or modern source control, your changes are stored in the cloud on the server itself. So let's see how we can connect Lovable to GitHub. Is to go to the project settings, and here we have Git on Node. So Git and GitHub or GitLab. So Git is the way technology. So it's the technology behind this particular version control. So there are other options. So Git is default. So Git is the standard, is the most popular tool that implements Git on the GitHub. Now I have already, I have a company account for TensorFlow in GitHub, and this account is already connected with Lovable for all company projects. So I already have that one, but now I'm going to add new connection. All right, let me see, connect to GitHub. All right, available. Okay, install a new account. So I'm going to add account, and I'm going to continue with my personal account. Continue. All right, connecting to GitHub. Yeah. All right, so now I can connect to my personal account or to company account. So I'm going to connect to my personal account, and I'm going to connect Lovable to all repositories. So this is a safe option you can do. Now GitHub will ask you for your 2FA. Also recommendation not only for GitHub, but for any other tool or cloud you use, please enable 2FA always. All right, so now we can see that I have two available options. All right, so we can see that repository is now connected, and repository name is Simple Web App 123. So if I refresh my repositories, I have Simple Web App 123. And now we can see that all files we have in Lovable are also available in GitHub. Now, maybe a few more details about GitHub itself. So GitHub is super practical for tracking the project, not only the source code, but also doing creating tickets or issues. Let's say that you work in team. So I can create a ticket, and I can say about let's say contact. So I'll create new issue. I'll say change contact to contact us in main navigation. Great. Now, why I'm saying this is GitHub has really cool AI integration. There is a product within GitHub called GitHub Copilot. So it's AI integration. It uses similar models that you have in Lovable, mainly Anthropic, but you can use other models. And when you create issue in GitHub, you can assign that issue. So you have let's go from the beginning. So you have Lovable, you have connect Lovable to GitHub, and then you have your code synchronized in GitHub. So if you do some code changes in GitHub, that change is going to be available in Lovable as well. So means you can continue doing changes in Lovable, but you can also change in GitHub or in Cloud Code or any other tool you want. So in this particular case, so let's say this is a simple example. So we want to change contact to contact us in the main navigation. So if you want to do that through the UI, so let's go here. So the fastest option, and this is what I'm always recommending. Prompting is great, but if you just want to change something, you can use this option where you can select element. So you can just click here and you can just change, and then you can do send. So it's way faster and easier than just writing prompt change contact to contact us. So I'm going to clear. So this just wanted to show that. Also, if you want to add text, so you can change this, easy, so on. So I'm just going to revert everything, but let's go back to our example. So just go back. Now, let me assign this to an agent, and I'm not going to provide any additional comment. I'm just going to assign this, and you can see that Copilot is now doing changes. Now, another term that you will probably hear a lot connected to source control and GitHub is pull request or code review. So what is pull request? So when we store our code in GitHub or Git kind of source control, there is a concept of branches. So that's something that we developers use every day. But basically, in your source control, you have one main branch with your code. So literally think about it as a tree, and then you have your like main source code branch. So that is the source of truth, main or master. And then, so option one is just do changes directly on master, on main branch. And that works well if you're the only developer. But it's better to, when you want to do some changes, instead of pushing or committing or writing your changes directly into master, it's better to create a copy of that code, to branch it on another branch, and then do your changes on that branch where you can verify, do iterations, make sure everything is good. And then once you're happy with the results, then you merge that back into master. With this approach, you can have a couple of projects or features or issues work in parallel, and you can make sure that everything is perfect before you bring those changes into master. Especially, we're going to show that in one of the we're going to see that in one of our next videos. Especially when you connect your GitHub to, let's say, automatically deploy your changes somewhere when you bring new changes into master. So for that, you want to make sure that changes are good before you bring them into the master. That's why when we assign this to AI, we call Copilot, AI is automatically going to create feature branch. It's going to create new branch based on the current source code that we have in main. It's going to do changes there, and then it's going to propose So it's going to create pull request, so where it's proposing bringing those new changes back to master. That's why we see that, okay, I have assigned Copilot, and Copilot created work in progress, and Copilot created main navigation change. All right, so Copilot linked. So Copilot created a pull request, and then he connected this pull request with this particular issue, with this particular ticket. And now we can see that this will take some time, and of course it doesn't make sense to do this for simple label change. But it's good approach if, let's say, you build something in Lovable, or someone built the first version in Lovable, and you do the review, and then you create 10 tickets for changes that you want to do, and then instead of doing them one by one in Lovable, you can create issues in GitHub, and then you can assign Copilot, and then Copilot is going to do those changes in those 10 changes in parallel, and then you can review and merge them. So there are some benefits of doing that. Now let's say, and of course, Copilot, like any other AI tool, you need to connect, and you have to pay for the service. So it used to be $19 for a long time. Now they have changed to token based, so consumption based billing, and it can get more. I mean, can get expensive, but for some smaller things, it really depends. I mean, if it is going to save you time, so yes, you have to pay for the AI. Simple as that. Right, initial plan. I mean, for this particular task, it's definitely overkill, same as Lovable prompt, just changing the label, but you can do complex stuff with Lovable, with GitHub Copilot, more complex stuff. All right, let's see what happened here. So it's still working on this. Refresh. You can also see this session here. So when you just open the session, you can see what AI agent is doing. All right. And you can see that he's doing a bunch of stuff, but here he has updated, and now so agent will try to do the changes, and then will try to verify the changes before it proposes the change, before it actually says like I'm done. So we can see that it modified the label, and now is trying to actually open your app in browser, and is trying to verify that this particular label is changed correctly. All right, let's see where we are. All right, I'm going to pause until AI is done. Okay, let's see. AI is done. So we see that pull request has been created. We see the details. Okay, so it took 10 minutes. So for tiny change, it is an overkill, but for bigger changes, it definitely makes sense to do it. Now in this pull request, we can see that this pull request is in draft mode. So every pull request created by you by AI is in draft mode, but we can change this for ready for review. And we can check modified files. Okay, so it just changed contact to contact us. Now, in order to bring this, so let's just refresh Lovable to make sure that yes, we still don't have this contact us. But in order to see this in Lovable, we have to merge pull request. So merging pull request means we want to complete pull request and we want to bring changes into master. We have other options here, so we are going to skip this for now because it's slightly more complex. So we have merged, and we are going to delete this feature branch. So if we go back to the code, we can see when we click commit, we can see our pull request being merged. Let's go back to Lovable, and Lovable is probably going to take some time. All right, so we can see that Lovable detected this. Preview is out of date, and we can either reload the page. All right, so back, so previously it was just sufficient to reload, but now, okay, yeah, it was the same. So we can see that Lovable got changed. So you did something in GitHub and you modified your Lovable without touching Lovable prompt or spending Lovable credits. So yeah, and that's basically it. So let's go open our issue. So we can see that our issue is also closed now. So that is another feature that GitHub has. So as soon as, yeah, so as soon as, so when you create the issue, you connect pull request. Once you merge your pull request, issue gets closed as well. All right, so this issue is done. You can explore GitHub. There is more really cool features like let me know if you would like me to talk more about GitHub and the project management side of GitHub with time tracking, estimations, projects, Kanban boards, and so on. Yeah, I believe that would be all. Next video is going to cover, so with the next video, we are going to start building our first web app. So we're going to start connecting the actual backend, login, and we'll make our project a bit more complex. Thank you.